among the overgrown ruins of Hades, which are home to the many horrors of the multiverse. Igraine came to this place to be healed of her afflictions, but first she has to prove herself to a benefactor. She has to survive the challenges of Arkology, lest she'd end up in the Styx, like so many that perish in this place. Can Igraine prove herself to these interdimensional exiles? Find out in Bound for the Styx. How is this? Can you hear us? Can you say something, Peter?
Testing,
Yeah.
testing.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You should be happy to hear us. And considering Drake Tungsten says Happy International Steampunk Day, I assume that I fixed the sound issue. All right. Yes. Welcome. Yes, you can hear some really. How is what is going on? Okay, I'm turning up the volume now. How's this? I'm gonna turn up my sound a little bit. I can tune it up a little more, I think. How's this? Okay, better. All right. Yeah, well, welcome Publishing and Drake Tungsten and everyone else. I see there's more. Okay. Peter, can you say something for a quick audio test?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's well on this International Day of Steampunk.
Alright, I turned up his volume as well. I think there has been a recent update to Streamlabs, and now all the settings have changed, so yeah, alright, he's quiet. Still quiet? Very low. Why is that? Because huh. Because everything is maximum. I put on, what is this? Like, I had the same problem last time, but I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna put this on as well. How's this? Can you say something, Peter?
Testing, testing.
Okay, it
You hear me
should
this
be
time?
like his sound is now going in the red on my end, so please let me know if this is working, because I don't know what else I can do. Okay, it's good. Alright, right, then in that case we are set. Alright, thank you all for joining us on International Steampunk Day. For those who don't know what International Steampunk Day is, I'm sure Peter can explain.
No, I really can't. Until you
Alright.
messaged me earlier on today, I had no idea.
Well, to be honest, I forgot about it. It's not something that people remind me of either. But I don't know who started it or why. But officially, it is International Steampunk Day today, and it's related to Babbage presenting his ideas for the difference engine to the Royal Society. Did you understand now the link?
Well, I know Charles Babbage, and yeah, I suppose if you're going to pick a date, that's as good a one as any.
So
Okay, so the reason why they picked that date is because the steampunk, the difference engine. Do I have it? Yeah, I have it over there. I can't reach it now. But the difference engine was the first book that was written to be a steampunk. So that's why so it's a steampunk genre thing, not so much a thing that's related to the steampunk costume culture. So there's the disconnect that we often talk about, but there we go. So yeah. Speaking of books, for those who have not been paying attention, Bound for the Styx is now live and ready to be purchased. You can buy it off our store at bonsard@gumroad.com. I'll put it in the description in a moment. And we are about to finish our comic. A matter of fact, the image that you see here, that is part of the cover. So I hope that Johan finishes the last illustration tomorrow. And then I can order test prints. So because everything else is done. If you guys want, I can show you the cover that I designed using Johan's art. So yeah, and I really hope you are looking forward to that, because that was an expensive project. What are you working on, Peter?
I'm still doing lots of editing for the fourth book in my my Dieselpunk series, and trying to put up a bit more content on my Substack at the moment. I've just added a couple of posts about a motorcycle trip I took to Luxembourg last year.
Oh.
My first motorcycle, motorcycle tour, and my Substack's all about sort of not just adventure in writing and films, but also trying to include a bit more adventure in your day-to-day life. So I thought it's a multi-part thing. It's probably going to be 5 or 6 posts, and it's aimed at folks that know nothing about motorbikes, know nothing about motorcycle touring. So I've published the first 2, and the second one was today, and I'll be releasing the others on a Wednesday.
So yeah, be free to insert your Substack in the chat. I should actually have a document by now with all your links and mine. But yeah, so apart from the comic, that's about then. Thank you, Riches. Apart from the comic and the updates on the book, let's see, what else do I have? I'm still working on the Casket Girls. People are making editing stuff for Enwin. When that is done, we need to do illustrations for Enwin as well. And then I have to struggle with the Casket Girls, finish my way through that. We've got somebody, we've got an author who's currently working on a submission for the Association of Ishtar. So, yeah, he wants to explore the Texas Rangers in the world of Atlas. So, yeah, so that's gonna be that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, and yeah, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna share Peter's Substack. Oh, oops, I did not intend to do that. I'm gonna share Peter's Substack right in the chat. Go give him some love. Oh wait, that's not right. Why did that happen? Okay, paste URL. There we go. Okay, I also have a Substack, but I'm gonna throw my money on Ream. I think that would be easier to do, so I'm gonna share that as well. I am posting free stories on the Ream site. It's a kind of like a Patreon specially designed for writers and people who want to read stories. So that's...
it was a very good episode last week.
Yeah, it was a very interesting episode. A few people watched it, but go give it a listen. We talked about with Michael. He's the CEO of Ream, and they're already rolling out new functionalities. They've included a forum now for the authors, so you can actually connect with the authors on the website. So I'm very happy about that. And I can also post free episodes on there as well. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not sure how that's gonna influence the blog. Maybe I'll do both. However, people can subscribe to Ream. So, and I would really appreciate at least one guy, because that makes me eligible to become also featured on the home page at this stage. So, yeah, let's. Is that all for now? Yeah. So I think that will be enough shilling for today. We're gonna bring back the. Yeah, we gotta hustle. It's true. We're gonna bring back the role-playing streams soon. We're exploring some venues and stuff like that, so we're really looking forward to continuing that as well. And yeah, Peter, you had some subjects for today.
Yes. Today I wanted to, as I usually do, put you on the spot, but by talking about the creation of monsters. Not just, the big snarling sort of, unpleasant monsters, but sometimes maybe the misunderstood monsters, sometimes the things that don't necessarily appear to be a monster to begin with, as well as the big bad, the thing that comes through the rift between universes and attacks for reasons which aren't necessarily immediately obvious. But I wanted to start by sort of asking you a bit more about the monsters in your universe. Sort of what motivates them. Where did you get the idea from? Then maybe go on and talk about some of your other favorite monsters from other fiction. But I don't know a great deal about these things that come through into your universe, provided there isn't a chandelier or some other sort of light source to keep them at bay. So.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're talking then about Bound for the Styx in that regard. Yeah, the people are a bit confused on the veil generators. They don't keep the monsters at bay. In case of the veil generators in Arkology, what happens is that the monsters in Arkology, they just appear from the void or the warp or whatever you want to call it, and the veil generators keep those gates shut. So they don't keep the monsters at bay. They just prevent them from appearing. And there's actually a story about that in the Arkology Companion, if you want to know the full implications of those veil generators. Because there is an interesting quality to them. So yeah, if you're still considering to buy Bound for the Styx, get it together with the Arkology Companion. It will provide some new depths that are not exposed in the book. So yeah. So
we know that you put a lot of thought into the background and how things work, stuff that you don't necessarily explain to begin with, but which you do a bit more detail in the companion. So I don't know. Can you give us a brief guide to the monsters that appear? Sort of look like, or I suppose how you came up with them in the first place.
Let me see, because I don't want to go into spoilers, because my books are exploration, so exploring how these monsters work is part of the fun. However, I've got one here on screen now. Well, I mean, call it a monster, which is the Herald's Bell. I call it the story. However, it's more of a speculation, because the association doesn't actually know if it's real or if somebody made this up. But yeah, it's a robot that hides inside a bell. Um, and in the sketch that is included in the letter that describes what it does, it's actually a very short story. I think it should be on the website. But it's one of those ideas. God, and it's also one of the more Lovecraftian beasts, and in the story, it just describes his experience encountering this thing in a medieval library that just lurks there on top of a bookcase. And then it shows something. Let me see. It reminds me of the evil head from some old science fiction animation. I'm not sure. I think because I actually made this sketch, and I think it was more inspired by Hieronymus Bosch, the famous Flemish painter. Except, the Hieronymus Bosch, you see one of these creatures and you think, oh, the guy is on psychedelics and there's, he's imagining this thing in his dreams. But no, like every one of those beasts, every one of those monsters in the paintings, they have a story behind them. They all are representative of some kind of vice, some kind of sin. You have to be Catholic to understand, a medieval Catholic more likely to understand it exactly what it all means. But it is very interesting, and I recently visited a cathedral that some people believe includes some of his influences. It was a church in Den Bosch, a cathedral in Den Bosch, and there's like all these gargoyles there, and people on places where you cannot even see them unless you're on the roof, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, why put such elaborate art there where people cannot even see it? But yeah, again, it has all this symbolism inside, and some people believe it's Hieronymus Bosch knew one of the builders of the cathedral, and that's how he made some drawings and they copied it. That's the story. So yeah, Hieronymus Bosch, big influence. But I could not top the symbolism that he puts into his beast designs. But it's definitely some inspiration of it. The Herald's Bell. I have this idea for kind of, well, they're not really, well, I guess they're kind of under the misunderstood category. And I do not even have a full name for them. I don't think I have a name for them yet. I have a draft for the story, and I showed it to Miskatonic one time. And it's basically a completely sound-based system they have. You read The Wrench in the Machine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there you have this cyborg race called the Nyctalar, who are being driven mad because they've got this clockwork in their minds that's just going on and on and on and on, and it's driving them insane. Well, I had this idea for a kind of a spin-off, which they are Nyctalar. However, they're a sound-based cult. And what happened was, according to their own creation myth, was that one of these Nyctalar that was liberated from the network, severed from the Nexus, so they were alone with their thoughts again. They lost their collective, their hive mind, so they were then driven insane by the sound of the gears in their heads. This guy, however, wandered the ruins of this civilization, and he came across a malfunctioning gramophone. And it was just this constant loop of the same sound over and over again. And somehow this synchronized with the ticking in his mind. And it brought him tranquility. And he then became a kind of a missionary. And he started like amplifying the sound. So every Nyctalar that listened to it also became tranquil. And like they started like creating, they started to get this whole philosophy of becoming one with the universe, using particular sounds and noises. So they turned themselves into living musical instruments.
Yeah.
So there's this completely creative group of cyborgs who are having like these massive musical performances, to tell their stories. But they're it's like listening to hearing them converse is like listening to a Beethoven symphony. And that's probably
That's
also
a
one of
really, it's a really interesting twist. I like that a lot. It's
yeah. I actually would like to work on it with an actual musician,
yeah.
to maximize the impact. That's something that I'd like to do. However, the story is gonna be that there was this Nictolar who stole the gramophone, and they lost their sound, they lost their muse, and
Yeah.
now there is like two groups. One that wants to kind of like reinvent the sound, rediscover the sounds, and the other group who wants to take revenge for what they've done. So there's like this complete disharmony. So you got like this baritone orchestra and the lower octave. Or what is it, the low baritone and the high octave? Is that correct? I don't even know. That's how little I know of music, but so that's the idea. So when when they're conversing, it's like one has like these high, like fairy tale-esque noises, and the other is like this dark droning noise. And the Herald's Bell. I'm not sure if the Herald's Bell is in league with one of them or a third party yet. But he exists. Oh, now this is actually a no. They encountered him before that, so he's far older than them. Because little spoiler for the Wrench in the Machine, the Association accidentally created the Nictolar. So
Well, as chance would have it, a friend of mine is an accomplished musician, and at the moment he's turned his attention. Well, the last few years he's turned his attention to something called modular synthesis, which is, I suppose it's like the very sort of avant-garde edge of synthetic music, where it's kind of like. Years ago, I suppose the first sort of examples might have been Doctor Who theme tune, things like that. And it's all about changing and warping sounds, creating new instrument sounds and all that kind of stuff. And he's a chap who's got an abundance of spare time, he's hardly busy at all. But I keep challenging him. He may not agree with me on that one. But yeah, I keep challenging him to sort of do different things, and I like the idea of the Nictolar and the music they make when they get together. So, see if I can persuade him to have a go. And if he comes up with something, I'll share it with you.
that would be nice. This is by a friend of Vendor, Dookie. He is a bit more expressionistic in his designs, I suppose you could say. This was inspired by a beast that I drew. I've got that sketch too, but anyway, I wanted to use this one because I guess I could have included this in Bound for the Styx, but its style is so wild. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but I could still include it in later versions. But yeah, I'm thinking about this noise, this audio based cyborg race that is using kind of like sonic attacks and acrobatics and stuff like that during battle. So
Okay,
yeah.
well, I suppose that leads us on to the next thing, which was where do you get your ideas for monsters from? Do you have favorite monsters from other fiction that you'd like to share with us?
Well, this particular idea came from I was visiting Castlefest, and there was this. I guess you could call him, well, yeah, kind of avant-garde music instrument designer who made all these type of percussion instruments in very exotic shapes with unusual materials. Um, and there was this band at the time. I'm not sure what their, I forgot their name, but they had a. It was they didn't have lyrics. It was just noise. It was it sounded very experimental. I know one of their songs was called Atlas. One of them was called Tento. I forgot what they're called, but they also had this. God, I will need to figure out. This is a band from like 10 years back. But they were a big hit at the time. And they also has like kind of like experimental videos as well, using very extreme setups. Maybe somebody in the chat recalls them a song called Atlas and Tento. Those were two songs by them. I forgot what the band name was. So that was an inspiration for that. The Herald's Bell. I think I might just have been inspired by Hieronymus Boss. I'm not sure. What other monsters do I have? Let me look at my archive of stories. Like I'm writing monsters for the Casket Girls. One of them was actually inspired by a box jellyfish.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting about box jellyfish is that it's actually not a single organism, but several organisms making up one animal. And there is
symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, but there's like an organism that is a gut, and there is an organism that is this, and there is an organism that is that, and some believe that's how life on Earth started, where
Yes. Yeah.
they're just organisms combine themselves into another bigger organism. So some of the new beasts are inspired by that. In the story that is in the Stygian Society, actually, I could share that link in chat in a moment when it's Peter's turn to talk again. I've got a discount for the Styxian Anthology. So, and that contains a creature that is visually more inspired by Giger. It's not. There is no illustration included in that, so that's a shame. But that was more inspired by Giger, kind of like a recent video game. What is it called again? It's one of those walking simulator games. Very high concept as well in all the wrong ways. But they basically have this takes place in this massive organic biotech facility. Let's see. I've got the Color of Ether. No, the Great Ghulam Ali. No. Rift Fae. Rift Fae are. I did not even know I put that on the website. But yeah, they're kind of like one of those cryptid variants of fairies. Where people make these taxidermied cryptids, where they combine, like, I don't know, monkeys with butterflies or bats and stuff, like the Fuji mermaids. You probably know those.
Yeah, I think so. That's
that's kind of like what the Rift Fae are inspired by. Very animalistic Fae, which we've basically they're like these groups of female Fae flying around like Will-O-Wisp, are actually combinations of various mythical and cryptid creatures. And they have like one male gargoyle-esque creature protecting them, or protecting his harem, so to speak.
Very good.
Yeah. But the idea behind that was also actually the idea was I was looking old. I'm a big fan of Hunt Showdown, which is a very interesting game in which the players are bounty hunters who are after a bounty. However, other groups of players are also after the same bounty. So you have to destroy all the enemy creatures, but you also have to kill the other players in order to escape. So, however, originally that game was supposed to have been a co-op game. The players are just playing together against hordes of monsters.
Yeah.
And in many of those games, when players need to know the way, there is a button they can activate. It's something that they also have in games like Dead Space. I'm sure some of the gamers in the chat know what I'm talking about, where you play on a button and then you get like this navigation system that helps you find a place. But it's often a beam that then goes ahead of you and goes through all the corridors straight to your destination. And I think in this game it was like a ball of light. It was like, what if for the game, the players can have a fairy in a bottle that is always lighting up. However, it's also like a post pigeon that can always find its way to the nearest rift. So the players can release the fairy and then chase the fairy all the way down to the nearest rift. So that's where that idea came from. Breadcrumbs. That's right, breadcrumbs. Yeah, but then instead of breadcrumbs, it's a fairy, like a breadcrumb fairy.
Yeah. It's I like the sound of it. It's kind of it's like if you've come across the phrase "canary in a coal mine."
Yeah.
Yeah, where miners used to take canaries with them to detect gas, and you have the equivalent with a fairy where it might get more excited the closer it gets to a rift.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, you could release them and they'll fly straight towards the nearest rift. So
yeah, I also explained it. It was actually one of the first 150 word stories that I described, where an associate meets a traveler who uses face to find nearest rifts. So yeah. And this is also something that Vaughn wants to explore in his Texans Ranger story, except there they have like a specific map system that they use. So I'm very curious how that will turn out. And let's see, what other monsters do I have? Well, in Bound for the Styx, I've got the blue folk, of course, who are infested by a fungus. It's very hard to give that a satisfying motivation. I made them kind of like the antithesis of Arkology. In Arkology, people like have all these cultures, but no one knows one's other culture because they don't know each other's language, they don't know each other's history. And in the blue folk, all those memories are kind of congealed into a hive mind-esque way. So they're the opposite of Arkology in a way. So that's how I kind of developed them. Let's see. The Envoys of Beyond. They're more of a mystery at this point. But that was heavily inspired by Mesopotamian mythology, where you have all these depictions of fishmen emerging from the sea, bringing knowledge and stuff. So that's
the famous Anunnaki. Is that them? Yes.
I'm not sure if they're the Anunnaki. I don't think so. Yeah. Not the original. Not the ones from the Bible, at least. I think Anunnaki is a term from that era originally, but I don't think that is them.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, there are various incantations of the Anunnaki, and like there's also this name for kind of like guardian deities. I'm not sure if those were the Anunnaki or not. I forgot. I have heard what it is, but I would have to re-listen to it. What it is. But
Yeah.
the story. I heard a very interesting interpretation. It might have been on the YouTube channel Esoterica, where they talk about, travelers from far away interbreeding with the local population, which is something that happens a lot. Like it could be a reference simply to the Hellenic rulers. You've got these
Yeah.
Greek guys coming to Egypt and Africa, and then they marry with local women, something like that.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. It's yeah. Okay. So yeah. Well, I put together a list of 3 or 4 monsters, which I thought, yeah, might spark a bit of interest. So I've not gone for any of the sort of the obvious ones from fiction. Terminator, zombies, the Predator, sort of werewolves and things like that. So they're all great, and I think they've definitely got their place. But there are some which are just, I don't know, they're quite sort of inventive. So I was going to start off with the giant worm creatures from Tremors, the film.
Yeah.
So for anybody not familiar, let me see. Can I? Yes. Share my screen. Um, and oh wait, oh no. Need to share that screen and then move to this. So can you see that? Or
I can see it. Let me see if I can get it on screen in just a moment. Let me see if I can expand the screen a little bit. There we go. Yeah.
So for anybody who's not seen the film, it is a slightly cheesy film. There are 2 or 3 films now, but well, 5 according to this. There's 5. But yeah, but the basic concept is that in a fairly remote area of North America, up in one of the sort of the plateaus up there, a shift in the mountains, a rockfall, releases some creatures from an even higher sort of plateau in the mountains where they've been trapped and surviving for hundreds, potentially hundreds of thousands of years. And these creatures they appear to begin with to be just these sort of smaller, sort of snake-headed worms or snakes, which appear out of the ground and try and grab people and drag them into the ground. But then one of the great reveals is as the film goes on, it turns out these are just the tongue-like sort of protuberances of a much larger creature, and these larger creatures are these giant worms which can burrow through the ground at the incredible speed. They're incredibly strong, and they use sound to get around.
And they're called graboids, by the way.
Graboids, yeah, I never knew that, but yeah. So now they're a great creature and they're a great illustration of a good monster from a film, because, like all good monsters, they have a great many strengths and they seem quite sort of difficult to deal with to begin with. And then as the film progresses, you discover they do have a few weaknesses. One of which is that yes, they hear incredibly well and they feel tremors in the ground when people walk on the ground very well because they're incredibly sensitive. But very loud noises, like dynamite being set off, that causes them a great deal of pain and can send them racing off in the opposite direction or just to get away from that sound. So yes, so the good guys within the film use this to try and combat the creatures, to fight them, to kill them in lots of inventive and interesting ways. And yeah, they're a little bit out there, but they're a great sort of creature to begin with. So Then I was going to go on to Triffids.
Oh,
Yeah,
the Triffids. I read the book. I didn't finish it. I didn't think it. I didn't like it that much, but I know it's a well-known book. Yeah.
it is. And there are a couple of films made of it, but essentially, um, Triffids are, as you might be able to see from sort of this picture, they're a plant.
Yeah.
And they're a plant which has been, discovered somewhere in the dark forests of, I don't know whether it's Africa or South America, very oil rich, and they're brought back despite having this poisonous spine type barb thing that, like a tongue that they can fire from their sort of their flower heads, and they use that to stun their prey, and then with very limited movement, they can only move quite slowly. They then go over and wait for that animal or that person to decay so that they can absorb the nutrients through the soil. Now, the great thing about these is, again, they're not particularly scary sort of monsters on the surface, or on first appearance. Slow moving, they're very large, they're plants, and yes, they have a means of attack, but a motorcycle helmet can sort of protect you against sort of the worst of it, and yeah. So this is where John Wyndham, the original author of this story, combines the threat posed by the Triffids with a second calamity which affects humankind, which is a meteorite shower, which emits a type of light. It's very bright, emits a specific type of light, which is devastating to creatures, including humans, use sight to navigate. So it blinds people, basically destroys their eyesight. So pretty much overnight, you go from the Triffids being exploited for the oil that they produce, or the fiber, the plant matter that they produce, to being creatures that are incredibly dangerous because the vast majority of humans are now blind. And there's only a handful of people who, for one reason or another, avoided the meteorite shower, avoided watching it, and yes, the story unfolds of how those folks sort of survive against a world which is increasingly dominated by the Triffids. But again, another very usual and very creative sort of creature, which again has a very sort of pronounced sort of set of weaknesses. An ordinary axe and like I say, a strong hat of some variety will all that's required to kill one of these creatures. So, are you familiar with the Triffids?
Like I said, I read the first part of the book many moons ago, but I remember that the protagonist wasn't blinded because he was having an eye. He just had eye surgery.
That's right. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the start of that zombie movie, like 21 Days Later or something,
Yeah.
where the main character also wakes up on an operation table. Somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very close parallel, I think, that. So.
Yeah. But yeah,
Now-
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you'd also encounter in our Arkology, in the world of Hades.
Yes.
This
Now,
kind of
I was. I move on to Frankenstein's creature, which is one of the most misunderstood sort of monsters, if we can call it that. Because in the original book by Mary Shelley, the creature is really a human being. They're a human being that is reanimated from dead flesh, using a technique which, Victor Frankenstein, the evil doctor in this particular story, has discovered, and in order to make his own life a bit easier when he's trying to recreate or create a living being from this, he picks largest specimens of humanity that he can find, because the surgery is a little bit easier in the books. He sews these different pieces together, and before the creature is animated, because his technology isn't the old-fashioned lightning strike we see from the films. In the original books, it's a technology which allows him to seamlessly knit flesh back together again. So, none of the big stitches, nothing like that. It's just chemical procedure or chemical and electrical procedure which basically heals human tissue almost visibly. And the good doctor or the bad doctor creates this creature, and until it becomes animated, he describes it as being as having the face of an angel, because at rest and at peace it is, a very, tranquil and attractive face to look upon.
Well, it was also called the modern Prometheus.
Yes, very good point. As soon as the creature is animated, though, and the muscles are animated, then that's when the face changes, and yes, and this is where it becomes horrific to Dr. Frankenstein, who then instantly regrets all the work that he's done, and attempts to destroy the creature, fails, and the creature, with no mind, no education, nothing else, sort of eventually escapes, and through a series of sort of encounters, the creature not only survives, but it gradually learns the way of human beings. It eavesdrops on people teaching their kids how to read, how to speak, and it learns the speech as a consequence. So this is where we end up with a very sort of an interesting conflict within the story, because the creature is physically very powerful. Because of the way in which it was resurrected, it's potentially immortal. It will not age or grow old. But it's also not human, in as far as it wasn't born or raised within human society, and doesn't necessarily bear ill will to human beings, even though some of them have tried to persecute it. But it does bear some ill will towards the person that creates it, or that has created it. And so we have I suppose, creature or a monster with a bit of a moral dilemma. And
I found a very nice sculpture that you can actually buy on Amazon, which probably means that somebody stole it. I cannot find who. Oh, this is originally from ArtStation. Let me see if I can find the creator. I cannot. So it's not supposed to pop up on Google at the looks of things. But I like this one because it kind of like combines the Karloff version of the Frankenstein monster with the angelic idea.
Yes.
With the innocence idea, yeah.
Yeah. A few films have tried to deal with the subject a bit more sympathetically. I've just stopped presenting, and I'm now getting the rotating dots. But so let me know if my video has disappeared. But I've got one more.
Your screen share is gone. That's right.
Yeah. We've got one more creature, which is a little bit more, possibly a little bit more in line with what we had in mind. Let's see. Why isn't it allowing me to? It's still.
Speaking of the Frankenstein monster, have you seen Young Frankenstein?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. We actually did a review on that on the Arkology podcast, and Vander wants to continue that. We have to look. I need to see if we still get viewers on the Wednesdays. Let's see, Conquest Publishing. What was that? Like me, slow and large, slow moving and large. Don't be that hard on yourself. But yeah, let me know what you think of the comic, and let me know if you're still listening, Conquest Publishing. Let's get in contact soon. What did you want to show us, Peter?
The last creature I had, I don't know if it's going to let me come back up.
No. But don't leave us in suspense. What is the last monster?
The last monster is the invisible creature from Forbidden Planet.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
let me have one more go. How'd the stream go? What's it asking me that for?
Yeah, they see it once it walks into the force field, right?
That's the one. So, has that come up?
Let me see. It's loading now. Yeah. Oh, and now it's gone again. I'll put it on my I'll put it on my screen. There we go. Oh man,
Yeah.
well, it kind of looks cartoony. In some fashion. However, still it looks quite impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the reasons I picked this particular monster is again, it's one of the things that's interesting about this particular film. It's an old film, and one of the ways they get around the special effects thing is they make the monster invisible, and you can only see it. And the astronauts, the space explorers, that have landed on the planet, fire their lasers or their particle weapons at it, and when it steps into the energy barrier that they put around their ship to protect themselves, then it's kind of highlighted in this very cartoonish sort of way, where you just get to see the energy sort of rippling over its skin, but you never get to see the creature properly.
Yeah,
Again,
there's like this shot. He looks very creepy, but there's also a shot from a very similar angle where he looks like a cartoon bulldog.
Yeah. And it's curious because there's a robot, amongst the crew. It can sense the creature coming. It can't see the creature like anybody else, but and all the way in which they depict it in the film is that they show the footprints as they appear in the soil or in the ground as this creature heads towards the ship. Now, in this particular case, for anybody that hasn't seen the film, the creature has an interesting origin. It isn't by any means a wild creature or native sort of fauna to the world in which they're exploring. It's created in another way, and it's it makes the story of Forbidden Planet a very interesting story, because it's all about ancient technology that has existed beneath the surface of this planet for millennia, and the way in which the people or the original inhabitants of that planet destroyed themselves. So, but again, it's the theme that you'll probably detect amongst all the examples that I'm sort of giving here is that creatures, the monsters, are all sort of one of the things I like about them is that they all have strengths and they also have weaknesses to go with it. And the creature from the Forbidden Planet is the one that probably has the least or the fewest sort of weaknesses, but then in many ways the creature isn't really a real creature. It's created in some other way. So the weakness lies not in the creature itself, but in how it's created, and that's what gives the cast, the crew of the ship, means to try and sort of overcome it. So yeah, and that's one of the things that I wanted to sort of touch on sort of briefly with you, Bonsai, is one of the things for me that sort of makes a really good monster in a story is the fact that not necessarily, or they're definitely not invulnerable, but finding out what their weaknesses are something that isn't necessarily immediately obvious either. It's part of the story, discovering how it is you can go and combat these creatures or combat these monsters.
Well, that's actually also going to be the focus of a role-playing game as well. At least that's what I want. That it's actually an exploration, like are we gonna fight this monster? So you cannot just go in like D&D and hope you've got the right magic sword or something. You actually have to like bring specialized equipment. That is kind of what we at least I would go for. I hope we are gonna continue discussing this soon, and I hope the people in chat will also share their thoughts on that. But yeah, and then also why the association is written as it is to especially I figure out like how can they do that. And another science fiction / fantasy series that does this is the SCP Foundation on the internet, but that's all about containment and how do you contain certain monsters and creatures and stuff like that. And they go very far in that, like where you have, I forgot which SCP it is, but it's a kind of like a demigod, a deer with a human face that is inspired by a Roman god, and every day they have like all these strange rituals to contain this creature, and the conclusion of the story is that the Wendigo. Let's see. The T.A. Bubbs, the Evil Dead, also did this in the first movie. Yeah, and the Wendigo. I would have to revisit the Wendigo. What that was about. Like I know that Wendigos are a warning against cannibalism. That's how they are created. But I forgot like if they had a particular weakness. The Wendigo also has a variation in the SCP universe as well, where it's a skull, and anyone who the skull tries to be worn all the time, turning its host into a cannibal. But there is also like this godlike creature, like they're performing all these rituals because this creature only thinks abstract. So as long it believes it is trapped, it is trapped. Would they stop doing the rituals, it would like be, hey, they're not performing the ritual anymore, I'm free. So
yeah, again, I think that's one of the great things that you can add to your creation of monsters and to the creation of creatures. It's sort of the mentality that sort of goes with it. And one of the things I sort of suggested to you earlier on today, I think I can't remember what the exact wording was, but it was a slightly sort of flippant way of sort of asking, which was, what do your monsters do in their time off?
So come again?
What do your monsters do in their time off?
Oh.
And I sort of referred to Monsters Inc. Obviously.
Yeah, that was what my mind was going. Yeah.
So now this is a slightly sort of comic way of asking, because one of the things that I really dislike from fiction is the psycho killer walk. You see the distressed young damsel or young chap fleeing into the distance with, the psychopath behind them. And they're running for all they're worth. And the psycho killer just walks, doesn't hurry, just walks slowly. And then, said, sort of damsel, young chap, continues to run, ploughing through trees, getting scratched, falling down ditches, climbing up the other side. And, these people, they've run half a mile before they've done like 30 seconds worth of this. And then all of a sudden, the psycho killer is in front of them. And it's like, how does that work?
Well,
so
Robot Chicken actually did a skit on that explaining it.
Yeah, and it's such a, I don't know, it's one of those things that sort of, it's clearly sort of had the same effect on lots of other people who go, it's just like a superpower of the psycho killer. They walk slowly and they just cover 3 times the distance so they can get ahead of their person they're sort of preying on. And equally, it's things like, the sort of psycho killer in a different scenario who's sort of, breaking into a house, somebody sees him coming, goes running out the front door, and all of a sudden, psycho killer's in front of them again. And it's like, why couldn't the psycho killer just be breaking into the house one time and go, oh, they've gone? And that's it. And so, when it comes to monsters, one of the things I'm very keen on, well, several things I'm very keen on, one of which is they all have a weakness of some variety, you've just got to discover it. The other of which is that they have their own timeline, and while there might not be anybody there to tell their story and tell the details of what they're doing in their time off, they should be doing stuff. In my own stories, I set first story in my Dieselpunk sort of series in New York of the 1930s, and creature, the monster, is just spotted here and there. He preys on the homeless and other sort of down at heel folks. But you don't really know what the creature's agenda is. You know that it's been isolated from all the other creatures, so it's going to act in a way that's a bit out of character. And what it's actually doing is it's trying to build somewhere a nest to reproduce. Because part and parcel of something that brought it to the planet, it's in a position where it can. So now that story, that doesn't get mentioned until 95% of the way through the story. I know what's going on. I know what the creature's doing. I know where it's going and what it's looking for and why it's not been discovered. That's one of the things that I like about, or I like creatures and monsters to have. I like them to have their own agenda, their desire to do something. So these creatures are attacking world. They're attacking from another dimension. Now, are they attacking because there's a big boss creature behind them with a whip, sort of forcing them to go through? Are they attacking because starving to death and they just need something to eat? Are they attacking because they don't like the sound of our music? What's the reason? So as long as there is a reason.
Dubstep did it all.
Yeah. So that's one of my sort of pet peeves or pet bugbears. I like the monsters to make sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, in much the same way that you can look at sort of Ridley Scott's sort of Alien. That creature makes perfect sense. It's a very powerful creature. Yes, it's got acid for blood and all this kind of stuff, and but it's alone. So it starts off by sticking to the shadows, by picking off its prey one at a time until it gets stronger and until people it's hunting become weaker. And then it becomes bolder. And as a consequence, the behavior makes a lot of sense. So I thought I would I'd sort of suggest that as one of my pet peeves. And I suppose the next question is, creatures that you've mentioned from your own universe. Can you tell us anything about what they do in their time off, or why they do things, or is that something you want to save, or until your
Um,
adventurers discover it?
well, many of them are machines. So yeah, they're either dormant or performing their function, so to speak. Um, Let me see what kind of monsters are worthwhile discussing. Um, do you recall certain monsters from my universe? Or
Uh,
in the
uh,
meantime, a statement by T.A. Maps. There's a skull of a World War II soldier that gives you visions and hallucinations from World War II German bunker till you die if you touch it, which I found interesting. This is an SCP. Yeah, that type of stuff is very common in SCP. Yeah. There was also like one story about a water. What's it called in English again? A water. Not a water bag, but a water sack. Well, kind of like a canteen.
oh, yeah. Water skin.
Water skin. That's the word I was looking for. And yeah, that also I forgot if you drank from it, something also happened. I forgot what it was, but all those types of strange items. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the big challenge that I had when I created the Association of Ishtar, to make stories that are kind of like that, but still have their own identity. I think I succeeded in that. I'm not really worried about that. Let's see. I don't really have intelligent monsters, so most are just predators. Really, they. I mean, the call girl might be one. But yeah, then I would have to go into spoilers.
Well, you mentioned at the start, if it's not a creature or a monster that you've mentioned already. Um, One of your viewers, you said, was going to write a story or propose a story based around Texas Rangers.
Yes.
So, I don't know, what kind of creatures, monsters, might exist in the wilds of Texas? I've never been to the Americas, so I don't know what a good example would be, but yeah, but Texas, as I understand, is a pretty big place. It's bound to have lots of different types of geography. So yeah, so what kind of creatures do you
Well, it
think?
really depends on what kind of creatures are on the other side, isn't it? Because it's not based on Texas; it's based on what on the other side of the rift there. In the horror of Crisius, I described they discovered a big plant-like creature that they blew up using harpoons. What else? Yeah, that's actually only one of the few Weird West stories that I currently have written. Because it's mostly a ghost story, so it mostly deals with apparitions who may or may not even be sentient. They could just be strange, lifeless anomalies. So that's also a possibility. That they're not even sentient beings, but some other form of anomalies. Yeah, currently I'm writing kind of like a hive-like creature. Like they're like big, skinny crickets, but they're like really like ants. They're kind of like army ants. Their surface is to protect the hive. While they have like these spines that are basically draining the environment of nutrients and water to feed the hive. So yeah, they're more plant. They're kind of like combination of plants and insects. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what's the secret life of plants? It's not. It's not something that really. Um, yeah, I really have to up the monster game, I suppose, for the series. Um, but yeah, that's kind of difficult. How many monsters can you come up with without it becoming just another monster of the week idea?
Yeah. It can be tricky, but I think it's yeah, it's a bit of thought, and uh, could be a second gin and tonic, and who knows what ideas might pop into your mind.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is gonna be my last gin and tonic. I'm still very tired of the weekend. It's insane.
yeah.
And now I just read that it's gonna be warmer tomorrow again. Like today, it was finally cooling down a little bit, and now it's gonna increase again. Well, at least it's not 30 degrees anymore. But meanwhile, the temperature inside my apartment is rising and rising because. Yeah. Do you have other questions?
Well, my last question was, um, if you were to, I suppose, design a new creature or think of a new creature, is there a particular power or aspect, ability you would like to explore? You know,
Hmm.
I deal with invisible creatures a lot in my world.
Well,
Um,
I wanna. I have some ideas for possession.
yes.
So that's some stories I've got ideas for, but still need to talk about. A matter of fact, I was thinking of a story. I never finished it. Inspired by speaking of classic horror films. I forgot what it is called. Excuse me. I think it was something called like the Horror on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
It's with the actor. I keep forgetting his name. The guy who played Count Dooku. Chris.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Christopher Lee. He's in it, and it's about a monster. It's about something that's typical story of, oh, they find a monster frozen in the ice. The thing falls, then the creature awakes. However, if whenever he looks at somebody, he can possess that human. So they kill the creature, but then he already has taken over another person. Um, like I think he can actually also kill people that way as well. Um, so this is a very deadly creature. I think his victims can also be resurrected. So he has like this zombie army running around in the train at some point as well. I think. Um,
Yeah, wasn't there was a novel? Was it called? Was it Valley of Lights?
hmm. I'm not familiar with that one. I like a creature that is tasty. Maybe a monster with bourbon for bodily fluids. That would actually be a nice idea for Arkology, perhaps. That there is instead of acid for blood, it is alcohol for blood. Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That would actually be something fun for Arkology. Or
Turn
maybe
it
an idea
around.
for the cookbook. If any of the people wanted to work on that cookbook idea on the Discord, I have to ask humble wizard and spanner writer if they still want to continue the cookbook project. Um, but yeah, people wanted to make an Arkology based cookbook. So if somebody has like recipes they want to share, go hit us on the Discord. Um,
A creature that
yeah.
has a nice fine wine for blood. would be. Well, I can't imagine it would last for very long.
Oh, no, that
So,
would be a nice one. Like everyone always like, oh, we are publishing my mom's cookbook. Oh, good, good, good. Keep us posted. I'm sure some people on the Discord are gonna love that.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the cookbook idea is just kind of like for a future Kickstarter or something, as an extra thing. But it would be nice because food actually plays a not it plays a prominent role, not an important role, but a prominent role in Bound for the Styx. So yeah, it would be nice to have some interesting menu with all kinds of weird Lovecraftian referential stuff.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of a creature whose blood is like, because we know the stories of the monsters who have like acid for blood, but something tasty for blood. It would actually be
Exactly.
would be a nice idea. Yeah.
Yes, this creature tastes like marmalade. How does that
Well,
work?
I mean, it could be like a less serious story for the Association of
Yeah.
Ishtar, where smugglers or poachers rather are poaching creatures on other planes like that. That's something I want to explore anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Where because meat spoils in a certain amount of days anyway, so you can poach animals on other planes, sell the food for an exuberant price. So there might be like maybe a restaurant or a restaurant chain that specializes in this type of stuff.
Yeah, you just reminded me of, I remember reading Moby Dick years ago and coming across ambergris, the stuff that they use in perfume, one of the most valuable substances in the world, and yeah, it's actually, I think it's something to do with the vomit from sperm whales. It's
I
something to
wouldn't be
do.
surprised
Yeah, exactly.
if
The
it's something
secretion
as
of
disgusting as that. Yeah, and it's in
secretion of the intestines
everything.
of a
Yeah.
sperm whale. Yeah, it's often found floating in tropical seas and used in perfume manufacture. And it's like, hey, take that as your basis and run with it
Yeah.
and see what kind of absolutely vile and
Someone had
disgusting
like
thing
the
you can
idea,
think
he saw a puddle of vomit drifting on the ocean, like, and that would make for great perfume.
of. Precisely. I wonder if we could sell this
Someone
to some
came
of the
up with
wealthiest
that.
people in the world.
I might have to
Yeah.
leave y'all, but I've seen fun listening. Have a great evening. Have a nice evening, TA Maps. Good luck on your commission, and I hope you get the book soon. Yes, apparently he missed the what do you call it? The postman at the door. So,
Yes.
but it isn't my fault anymore. Now it's really the fault of the post office. It doesn't reach him. So
Yes.
I cannot be
Yes.
blamed.
You've got them all posted out now?
For the EU, yes, and England, yes.
Yep.
For America and the rest of the world, I expect it to arrive at my distributor any day now, and he will do the rest of the distributing. I will look into it tomorrow, but Funk picked, I will at home all week. Oh. Huh. Okay. Well, at least they send it to the right email. Yeah, I hope they drop it off at a place close by. Although I'm still waiting for Amazon shipment too, so God knows what the postal services are up to these days.
Yes. Sweating a great deal, I suspect. But
Yeah, sweating. Maybe it's the heat. Things are just going wrong. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, well, he also lives in Romania. They have like these very elaborate addresses, but I filled it in as he did. I mean, the postal service did have like special options for that, where I could like fill in those particular things. So I did not even know that. So I was like, oh, they have like all these particular things for that in the system. So that's very happy about that. It wasn't the first time I filled it in, but yeah, I know that the people in England should already have received their packages. So yeah, this should be one of the last one to arrive. I know somebody in Finland got his. Why Finland is easier to reach for the postal office than Romania, I do not know. But yeah.
I think it just comes down to volume of traffic. If there's a lot of other parcels going that particular day or that particular week, they go quickly. If there isn't, then it seems like they go a little bit slower. But
yeah.
But yes.
Who knows? Well, maybe it was going for groceries, and just in that 15-minute time frame, as usual.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine who works for the post office in the UK said that the one thing that you can do that will make your letters in particular, I don't know if it's the same with parcels, make your letters go quicker, is to use a typed name and address, because then it will get sorted and filtered by the machines.
Right, yeah.
Rather than needing a human being to read it.
Yeah, well, these all had like pre-printed etiquettes, so that shouldn't have been a problem. But oh well.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Last question for the evening.
Yes. What would be? Well, what else have I got here? So we've had the comedy ones. We've had the one about sort of powers. Yeah, it's a backstory. I know you said sort of your monsters don't necessarily have a conscious thought a lot of the time, but well, I know you do. You mentioned it in passing. You do have an understanding of where they're from and what they're doing and why they're doing it, and why they have the particular abilities that they have, the strengths, the weaknesses, and so on. But yeah, are there any sort of whether they're mechanical monsters, whether they're flesh and blood or supernatural? Yeah, I mean, can you give us a flavour of some of the background that you go into, or?
Well, I mean, every monster kind of does have a theme. It does represent something, some topic. So there are a lot based on that. Like with the blue folk, they're kind of supposed to be like a country, the opposite of the people of Arkology. So it kind of for me, it also depends like what does the story need. What. Most monsters I come up after I started writing, so at least for the Casket Girls, because I'm working on the story of the Casket Girls. So I think like what kind of challenge do they need to to display how they operate mostly, and what kind of equipment do they bring, like how do they deal with situations where they don't have the right equipment. So they now have this tracked vehicle that they're constantly rebuilding. In their second mission, it's used as they are turning it into kind of like a firing platform for their robots to stand on, so it can drive through a marsh.
Yes.
In the final battle of the first book, they turn it into a jet tank. Which basically they strap two rocket engines on top with the exhaust turned forward, connect them like it kind of looks like a big vacuum cleaner in a way, and then they blow away all the undergrowth, ground included, because it keeps regenerating otherwise.
Yes.
So it's it's literally like a jet cannon.
I thought you were going to describe something like the Fast and the Furious for a second.
No, that's like what a lot of people think, but no, it's the thing is aimed forward, and it's inspired by two tank designs that are real. One is a fire extinguisher used to extinguish oil fires, for which they use fighter engines.
Yep.
And the other, we don't know if it was effective because we don't know what happened to it, but we know it was built and it was sent to Afghanistan. It was for minesweeping.
Ah, yes.
But we
The
don't
one with
know.
the revolving chains.
No, yeah, it was instead of revolving chains. Yeah, it just had this big jet engine thing. But no, we don't know what happened to it. So we have some photos of it, and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking more like, okay, I discovered this concept. What could they use it for? What kind of specialized type of beast do they encounter where that would be necessary?
Yes.
You know, it's also great for ground control. You know.
Yes. Yes.
But I also needed a situation where they actually have those rockets at hand to strap them on top using train parts, because that's also a thing. You know, they were at train yards at the time. That's where their camp was. So, okay, what we use to build to convert this thing? Well, you know, train components. So I'm still looking for an illustrator who's good at vehicle designs, who has a passion for vehicle designs.
Yes.
You know, the bottom is gonna be like one of those Schneider tanks. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular type. It's a complete utter failure, but it was one of the first tanks the French built in the First World War, and it was a miserable failure. And then the British came with their Mark One. I don't know if the Schneider takes before the Mark One or after the Mark One. But yeah, the French they got the Renault F-17 instead, which was this small light tank with a 2-man crew. And they built like over 1,000 of those. We'll put a student on it. Oh. Let that student contact me. And, yeah. If you've got one, send them my way. I can send them the manuscript as far as I got it. I got it far enough. And now I'm just like, you know, filling in the blanks, and I need to rework the characters and finish their thing. That's why the Casket Girls is so difficult, because, you know, okay, I have to give like criminals motivation that is positive, you know. You know, so but yeah, I think I've got some interesting things. It's more that for those things to happen, I might have to kill off a character, which might run into plans for another story that I have about the Knights of Avalon. So,
contentious killing off characters.
Yeah, but I mean, it is that kind of world, you know.
Yeah.
You have not yet read The Bound for the Styx, have you?
No.
Okay.
It's
okay.
You're one of those types of authors, are you? You just
No, I'm not like J.J.R. Martin, that every time he writes himself into a corner, that he starts killing off characters by the dozens, and then say, yeah, no, I intended this to happen all the time. Yes. Really, it's absolutely not, because I had nowhere to go with these characters.
No, absolutely. Yes. A friend of mine is.
I mean, the guy's secretly a hack. Let's be honest.
Yes. I used to be part of a small writers group, just 2 of us. A friend of mine is now traditionally published, and he was the most bloodthirsty human being I've ever come across when it comes to writing. He would take great pleasure, because he hated the idea of writing sequels.
Oh.
So he would just kill everybody at the end of each book.
Okay, well, that's one way of doing it.
It is. Yes. Anyway, I have no more questions.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, I'm also tired. For those who are still, we still have 6 viewers. Thank you all for making it to us to the end. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got, we're doing something different today, so let me know if you enjoy these types of discussions. Yeah, what else do I have to ask of you? Of course, keep a watch on our store. I'm gonna put the link in the chat real quick for those who have not yet found our store. If you've got suggestions for that, let me know. So there will be the new comic because people are already asking where can we buy the comic. Well, it's gonna be there in digital. It will take longer for me to put it on Amazon. The reason for that is because I might want to include 4 more pages. However, I'm going to a fair early July and I want to have a comic. So that will be the first version. It will not be the complete or the final version. So I'm kind of hesitant to put that on Amazon. And if I put it on my own store, at least I have I can include that without issue. Sweet, fair in July. Yeah, it's gonna be. Instead of conventions, we have fairs here in the Netherlands. The convention scene is pretty new. It's pretty recent. It's big. And unfortunately, the fairs are starting to become like conventions. Not happy about that because that culture that is associated with the fairs is disappearing. Because, the people who are participated. Oh, your father were having an affair. Well, first I need to have a relation to have an affair. So that. So yeah, but no, it's gonna be like a kind of like we have fantasy fairs, and they're basically like these outdoor markets with music and everything. So they're not. They're kind of like conventions, but it's not. It is. It used to be a lot about the atmosphere and. Yeah, Ren Fair is a better comparison. I have to remember that. Yeah, Ren Fairs are kind of like it. Excuse me, but a bit heavier on the fantasy. However, now they're becoming more and more like conventions. Cosplayers used to be a rarity, and now it's all pink hair and schoolgirl outfits. And cat ears and those types, and so more and more gaming. We used to have all these craft people, and that's becoming. I mean, they're still there, but that's because they also are heavy into drawing. Nelleke Schoenmaker of Hollow Moon Art, who also made an illustration for Bound for the Styx, is one of them. He does great business. I mean, for me, it's also good too that this development is here because I'm now an author. But I used to be in the costumes. That's how I created Dankert Lexicon because of that, and now it's. So we'll see. Maybe but there's still like this aftershock of the Great Plague, in the mentality of people. So. We'll see what happens next year. But this year I went to the Elf Fantasy Fair. That used to be the place to go. And I was there with a friend of mine. And we were both like, what the hell? Why are we even going to this place? It's just one big market that you pay 30 euros for. Which is ridiculous. And that's just a ticket. That isn't the parking ticket.
Yes.
Yeah, So I'm kind of disillusioned, but I also see opportunity business-wise. But yeah, even for the markets, I mean that's also the thing. There was a market, but it was smaller than usual. but you pay more for the entrance fee. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that develops. Do you have like fairs like that where you are in England, or is it just the steampunk conventions?
No, they exist. It's most of the big sort of events that take place generally have some kind of stall holders sort of market. It tends to be for they're more established shops. There's a cost for them, and what they get charged for the stall space that they put up generally goes towards subsidizing, the big events,
Yeah.
or goes to the back pocket of the organizer if they're that way inclined. But, yeah, a friend of mine does do it. He's an artist, and he does a series of comics called Fetish Man, and it's yeah. The comic rather than rude, the line drawings, so they can't be that rude. They're a little bit rude, but yeah. But he goes to quite a few, and they are worthwhile going to once you've become a bit more established, I think. Um, but yeah, but I've looked at them and go, well, I've got 7 books that I could take along and sell, but yeah, it's yeah. Is it going to be worthwhile? If you sort of pay for the
Yeah.
journey to get there, the stall, the accommodation, the journey to get back, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and all your associated costs. So
Yeah, I mean, I had a great turnover at the last event, like 40 books. It's quite some money. But, then you're like, well, then this goes away. Then, I had to pay for my hotel, I had to pay for the stall. And that was relatively cheap. So, pay for the journey. And so, yeah. But I mean, it is a way to build a fan base. But a lot of them will say they'll take your card and say, "Oh, I'm gonna look on the shop and get something from the shop." Well, I have not yet had that experience. Or maybe they bought it on Amazon and I had not seen it yet. But well, I don't like to. I don't enjoy looking at Amazon because it's very depressing. So
yeah, yes. If I had more time, I would suggest that we track down a group of other sort of steampunk or dieselpunk authors in different countries. We each send one another a load of books and have a stall that's just covered with steampunk, dieselpunk books at as many different events we could cover. But
I've definitely considered like selling books for other offers. Definitely.
yeah. Yeah, but it's yes, it's time and
Well,
don't know
the
if it's the same with
problem
comic.
the problem I see is like I had a table of 1 square meter, or whatever the term in English is, and I barely had enough room for my books, and if I want to sell more offers, I need to pay for that extra space.
Yeah,
You know, um, that's the problem, and so it sounds like such little effort to bring the books of other authors, but it's space that you need for your own stuff.
yeah,
That's kind of my issue. Um, so and then it's not it are not books you are as passionate about, and it's already hard enough to sell your own
yeah,
books.
yeah.
So
They are. And, I mean, this friend of mine that does it, he's very organised, and he cottoned on pretty quickly that yeah, you can have the magazines there or the comics there, and they're okay. A few people will stop and take a look, but if you get a couple of big posters printed, provide a backdrop so people can see a bit more
oh
about
yeah.
what they're about. That will help. If you get a proper display, if you get a few props to go with the display to suggest, the general style, then as a consequence, he takes a car load of stuff to every convention, every fair that he goes to, and there's a proper setup to go with it. But that does sort of help to sort of make
I need
the
to have
event
like a
worthwhile.
proper display case and stuff.
Oh yeah. So
I already have the banner, and that definitely works because people see like the Wrench in the Machine cover, like, well, not A1, but you know, that type of format. You see like, oh, what the fuck is that? You know. And I also need one for myself now as well, because I constantly have to explain that I'm the creator of these books.
Yes.
Constantly.
Well, this is the thing, and you know, you probably need something for channel as well to sort of let people know that they can, you know, see you talking about different things, and you know, all your other creative outpourings as well. So yeah, but one day I'll get that organised, but that isn't today.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I today I happen to have designed a new calling card.
Yeah.
With a QR code on the back instead of just the email and a web address. And my other cards are running out anyways. I'm gonna try how that works. I want to get like a second banner which has me like Bonsert, creator of worlds. With some shots of worlds from the current picture collection in there. So kind of like thought bubbles or something like that. I need to look how I'm gonna do that. So it's not just my face. But yeah, no, I see a lot of offers have like those banners with themselves on it. And I'm like, I have no idea who you are. I doubt the people visiting know who you are. Why do you even bother with that? But now I'm trying to sell my own books. I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yes. Yes. I think we need some kind of steampunk or dieselpunk librarian to curate a big list of books and then do a lot of promotion for it.
We need a Retropunk network website.
There you go.
You
That's
know,
the one.
a website, someone who likes doing that. You know, simple website. Find all your favorite steampunk offers here, like a page for each offer, with a picture, like this and. Well, if you really want to be luxurious, you can have the authors maintain their own page on there, kind of.
Yes.
Like, this is where I'm gonna be attending, you know, type of deal. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I guess I have to make something like that eventually for the people who submit stories to the Association of Ishtar. I need to have a second look at my website anyway. Maybe I'm just gonna do a kind of like anti-procrastination stream where I'm just gonna work on the website. And people can like submit ideas. Maybe we can do that together, you know, instead of something like this. We're just gonna screw around with the website.
Well, you got 6 people left in the chat. You know,
Yeah.
let's ask for some feedback. Yes.
Yeah.
What would you like to see us babbling on about next? Would you like to see a bit of real-time sort of website editing, a bit of what else are we gonna? Oh, we're gonna do some story profiling,
Yeah, we also
writing
want to
stories
do
in real
writing
time,
sprints
aren't
as
we?
well. Yeah. Well, maybe
Yeah.
we can do that like bi-weekly. 1 week we're gonna talk about the game, and 1 week we're gonna do like
Yes.
talking about story submissions. Maybe something like that, and we're gonna do that in the weekends. I was thinking about
That
something
would be
like
good. I
that.
think.
The website thing sounds interesting. Okay. Well, maybe we can do that on a Wednesday then. Yeah, we'll see.
I need
Alright.
to completely overhaul mine. It's running incredibly slowly at the moment, so I need to do something with it. Part of the reason why I've started using Substack so much because I think my WordPress site is just overloaded. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using Wix. Maybe at some point I'll switch to WordPress. I was thinking of doing that this year actually, but you know, I finally got it up and running in a quasi acceptable way. So yeah, but I want to integrate Ream into it. You know, instead of the story page that I got now, you can go to the Ream site and maybe I have a WordPress site. Yeah. The problem is there you need to pay upfront, and I'm already paying for Wix, so that's kind of the issue. And then I have to learn WordPress, which is gonna take a ton of time as well. So I'm thinking I'm gonna upgrade the Wix website first. See how far I get, know what I want, especially know what I want, and then I can hire like a professional website designer, say, oh, this is what I want, then in WordPress, something like that, right? Okay.
Add it to the list. Yes.
And this time, let's call it for today seriously now. Folks, like I said, comic is coming soon. Keep an eye on our website. If you have not yet subscribed to the Association of Ishtar.com, please do so, or keep an eye out on the community tab of this YouTube channel. And of course, have a look at Bound for the Styx on our website. We've got all kinds of bundles, so it is cheaper, and it's always cheaper to buy it with me than on Amazon. However, I also need those Amazon reviews as well. So, yeah. I pay for the server, but it's self-hosted. I'm not necessarily promoting WordPress, just being conversational and showing I have an interest. Oh, that's fine, Drake. Absolutely, no problem. I appreciate it. Okay. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, yes, thank you for being with us tonight. And as always, make things your way. Good night.